All right, class, let's get going. Our topic today is classical empires, 600 BCE to 600 CE. Our essential question, explain how major belief systems came about and influenced their respective regions. Let's talk a little bit about technology to begin with. Large-scale farming, where one or two people or a very large farm was being very productive in producing wheat, enabled increase in trade. Luxury items were sought after, silks, cotton, gems, and spices. So with a lot of farming, and every single person didn't necessarily need to be farming, it enabled people to specialize in other areas. During this time, iron and the wheeled chariots in most empires arose in 1500 BCE. The invention of the stirrups for horses was a major development in warfare. And you wouldn't think that putting your feet in stirrups where you're riding a horse was such a big deal, but it enabled the riders to then use like the bow and arrow and spears, and the horse became, like it says, a major factor in warfare. Okay, major belief systems, polytheism. Polytheism is a belief in many gods, many rituals, more impact on regular life. So polytheistic is belief in more than one god, where monotheism is belief in one god. Our first religion we're going to talk about, not necessarily a religion, Confucianism. The leader was Confucius. It started in China around 400 BCE. It was a political and social philosophy, not necessarily a religion. It utilized how to maintain social order, especially in China. People could practice Confucianism and still be a Buddhist. It did not spread around the world. Confucianism didn't at this time. Now, we know about Confucianism today, but it didn't spread around the world because it was much more specific to Chinese culture. Confucianism was. All right, our next religion, Taoism. It's spelled a couple different ways. It is defined as the way of nature, the way of the cosmos, so kind of, out there. Founded by Lao Tzu in 500 BC, once again in China. And the thinking is the harmony with nature. Taoists also worked with legalism, which advocated for centralized or tightly run government. So Taoism is all about harmony, not only with nature, but with your family, with society, and they used a lot of legalism to help run the country very efficiently in China. It's similar to Confucianism. It is more specific to China, so it didn't necessarily spread as much as other religions. Okay, Hinduism. Hinduism began in India with the Aryan invaders, belief in a supreme force called Brahma. All Hindu gods are a manifestation of Brahma. Must follow Dharma or rules to move up in a caste system. So a caste system is their social structure, where you have the untouchables at the bottom and the priestly at the top, and your goal is to move up through that caste system through reincarnation. So reincarnation of the cycle of rebirth. If you are a good person during this life and you're an untouchable, then hopefully when you're reborn you will move up. And that is the basis of their belief system. Hinduism believes in Vedas. Vedas are their religious texts, and there are thousands of them. And we have the Bible in Christianity, but the Vedas, there are many, many of them. The caste system I just spoke about played a huge role in society. Not only then, but all the way into the 20th century. It was actually outlawed in the 1915s, and at that time, the 1950s, and at that time, the caste system started to decrease in its role in Indian society. All right, Buddhism. Siddhartha Gautama is a Hindu prince. He started Buddhism in 563 BCE. Their main tenements is the Four Noble Truths. Life is suffering. Suffering comes from desire for objects or whatever. You want to be free from desire, and that freedom, once you obtain it, is nirvana. Following the Eightfold Path, choosing the right way to go in your life, and there's 8 of those things, and they all start with right, like right view or right conduct, and all of these Eightfold Path, following the right way, and will help you to nirvana. Now, after the Buddha died, 2 branches after the death of the Buddha: Theravada, which is meditation, simplicity, God's not important. So Theravada is a much more simple form of Buddhism. And then you have Mahayana, which is much more ritualistic. Buddha is godlike. Followers also rely more on priests and scripture. Buddhism began in India, but then did spread all throughout Asia and, of course, throughout the world nowadays. But throughout Asia, and when it moved to China and Japan, their culture kind of changed it, and it took on some different aspects. Next is Zoroastrianism. Let me slide the board here. It was started in Iran around 200 BCE. Two main gods, one good, the other evil. Zoroastrianism was very influential during the rule of the Sassanid Empire, 224-651 CE. This empire ruled adjacent to the Roman Empire, so they had influence on each other, and thus it could have had this. Zoroastrianism could have had some influence on Christianity. All right, Judaism, 2000 BC. Judaism traces its lineage all the way back to Abraham. One of the first monotheistic religions, and so remember I talked about polytheism. I've slid the board over here. Polytheism is the belief in many gods. Monotheism is the belief in just one God. Jews have an obligation to serve God and follow the Hebrew Bible and the Torah. Followers of Judaism were led by Moses out of Egypt to the Holy Land of Israel. And that's when Moses got the 10 Commandments. They set up a temple in Israel. And then actually in 70 AD, right around 70 AD, the Romans came in and bashed them all, and the Jews spread out through the Middle East. One of the religions that popped up through Judaism was Christianity. I think most people in our classes in Western society know most about Christianity. Christians were followers of Jesus Christ, 0 to 33 CE. One more board here. Christians believe Jesus rose from the grave, and much of the New Testament reflects this miracle. From his death in 33 CE to about 313 CE, Christians were not treated well in the Roman Empire. Oftentimes they were persecuted, thrown to the lions, that kind of stuff, as the gladiators. So it wasn't good. It wasn't easy for the Christians in those couple hundred years after Jesus died. In 313, Constantine, who was the emperor, converted to Christianity as well as the whole Roman Empire. So of course this was a pretty big deal, because now he expected everyone in the Roman Empire to follow Christianity. Christianity would affect legal and cultural aspects of the Roman Empire for years to come. So there we go with our boards. I think we're done with our classical empires. Remember, history's no mystery. Take good notes.